the relationship is essentially all we have right now, and we value that and always have. You know, that's the overall goal, is to genuinely maintain a relationship with our customers, old and new.
Today is Wednesday, April 15th, and we continue our video series here on the Keep Boone Healthy Facebook page in talking about Shop Local Saturday. And what we've got coming up for this week certainly is going to be a great opportunity for us to showcase all of the small businesses in all various types throughout our community that are either essential businesses and still open. Maybe some businesses have had to close their doors due to some of the rules and regulations out there and have had to reinvent an online identity. And then there's everybody else in between. So we thought that this would be a great opportunity with Shop Local Saturday coming up to kind of bring you the face of a small business in our community. So we bring you two faces. Denise and Fulton Lovin of the Horton Hotel have joined us here today to talk a little bit about what they've been through and also what customer interaction means to small businesses right now. So Denise Fulton, thank you very much for your time. I know both of you are very involved as small business owners in downtown, in a Main Street community here. You've got that perspective. How have you seen businesses like yours in that location, what is one of the vibrant centers of our community? How have you seen businesses reinvent themselves here over the last few weeks?
Well, you certainly can see, just kind of looking down King Street where I am now, that it's much less populated. It's pretty much a ghost town in terms of what it looks like on a day-to-day basis, as far as people walking by and being, visitors to our downtown. So of course, from a reinvention standpoint, we know that so many of our businesses down here are offering online options. Really trying to maintain a personality and a tone where not only can folks get takeout food and delivery food, but from a retail perspective, offering shopping online and highlighting some of their products and hoping that locals and folks that aren't living here necessarily will be inclined to support them and stay engaged with their product in that way. So a lot is being done, of course, from our bedrooms and living rooms. And a lot of stores are also sort of snuggling up to their Instagrams and Facebooks and trying to push out their product that way.
And that's one thing that you all, I know, have done very intentionally and very well since before you even opened the Horton Hotel, was to create that online identity. We're going to be talking some during the Boone Chambers Lunch Bites event on Thursday about how people can kind of wrap around social media maybe in different ways than they have before. How have you changed your own strategies in terms of that social media influence when you don't necessarily have a product to sell in the current? You've still got future that you can put out there and just top of mindness, if that's a phrase that we can use. How have you adapted your own policies in that way?
Well, just like you said, staying related to our community and our followers, and hopefully inviting new ones by just kind of keeping our product and our brand in their minds and maintaining the relationship. Because like you said, from the start, before we even opened, we were focused on building relationships and asking people for their insights and their recommendations in terms of what vision they had for the Horton, whether it be the rooms or the rooftop bar. And so really, after that, we got more into, of course, selling our product and offering specials and enticing people to come in to make a reservation and to buy our drinks and eat our food, which of course we're not going to be, and folks are not going to be interested in that now. But what we can go back to is the relationship and finding ways to maintain that in terms of offering encouragement, affirmation, hope. And also what we've been doing here on the Purple Couch, we've been doing on Sundays at 2 o'clock live on the Purple Couch, just as a way to maintain connection and offer relevant information. None of us, are an expert on anything we've shared, but the goal was just to kind of bridge the relationship with folks. And Fulton has done Reel on the Rooftop, where he has invited musicians to just kind of play their music up there next to the fireball and just be real and authentic and not looking for performance per se, but again, just building connection with folks and trying to maintain that in terms of what we have to offer at this point. And that seems more relevant in who we want to be and the kind of connection we want to maintain with folks.
Fulton, I got to give you some credit, man. You not only played well the other day during your performance there on the roof, but you also didn't set yourself on fire with the large fire pit next to you there. That would have been something I would have.
That never happens. We have enough problems.
That's right.
I was going to mention, and also the Horton for us, this has always been a creative process. Very early on, not only in the construction, but the organization, the building it up of our programs and our just kind of our whole element of building this hotel is revolved around the art. So Denise, very early on when we had to shut down, she said, I know, let's get suggestions on comments on how to, uplifting comments. And so if you've ever walked by our front lately, you'll see little blurbs like, what would Willie Nelson do? That's one. And so when we did the Reel on the Rooftop, we're not trying to make money, for instance. We're just trying to be ourselves, which really revolves more around the creativity and the need for this hotel in the downtown.
With that customer interaction, like you talk about, and I know you and so many other businesses in our community, you relish that customer interaction on a daily basis. But how much more does that mean to you now that people are intentionally finding ways to engage with you, and whether that's through buying products or tuning into your web events, they're finding a way to find you at a time that it's sometimes for some businesses, maybe not yours, but sometimes difficult to do so.
Oh, it means everything. I think, that's the overall goal, is to genuinely maintain a relationship with our customers, old and new, and to stay connected to guests who have been here and hopefully want to come back, to make sure that people kind of remember that we exist. But the relationship is essentially all we have right now, and we value that and always have.
There are some businesses that still have the ability to have their customer base here and able to interact with them, maybe in different ways, but still interact with them. For our businesses in the hospitality sector, that looks very different right now because we don't have an influx of visitors, and some of the things that are those benchmark elements to the high country just simply aren't available right now. Can you give those that are maybe not necessarily as familiar with that perspective some of the realities of what this situation has meant for the hospitality industry?
Cancellations and giving a lot of money back has been heartbreaking, but totally understandable. And really trying to be fair and changing our cancellation policy to enable people to step away from reservations that really don't make sense right now. And so being very thoughtful and empathic with our customers, and kind of really trying to overcome the heartache and the stomach ache that kind of comes along with each cancellation. And at the same time, relish in people who are calling to make reservations for summer and fall, as well as people who have been buying gift certificates just for future travel, because our gift certificates could be good for 5 years. And we can hope that, in time, we're going to see things pick up. And of course, people want to return to our beautiful Boone. So it's been really, really difficult for those, I think, in the hospitality, especially hotels and short-term rental in that way. Because of course, our whole, business is not relevant to the situation.
I think we're into what I would call the antsy phase of this a little bit. People have responded to the crisis. They've made the alterations they need to make. But now, as we're getting closer to the end of the month of April and really passing the midpoint here today, people are starting to wonder what lies beyond now. And with that comes anxiety and all kinds of different emotions. But in order to be able to take advantage of whatever comes to us in terms of a release from from the current orders, you've got to be proactive and plan a little bit. How are you all as a small business living in the now and dealing with your current realities, but starting to think about strategically what things can look like when we do start to return to some of the functions that will bring your business back around again?
Well, I think it's helpful to be realistic about really what to expect, both in the short term and then sort of the longer term, and really being thoughtful about what the data says. For us, for example, we've been paying attention to webinars that the travel industry offers to better understand the statistics and the expectations that comes out of that, so that we can kind of understand what might be the future. And one thing, for example, is the data suggests that what's going to come back first for travel would be regional, domestic, and then international. And so being thoughtful for us is how then do we best reach out to folks that would travel regionally. And I think as Boone, we're in a good position for when we're ready to bring tourism back, and when it's a healthy decision overall, to be focused on strategically staying in touch with folks that would drive to travel. And road trips are definitely going to come first, and then flights is what the data suggests as well. And so really being thoughtful about, from a marketing perspective, positioning our hotel and just Boone in general as that road trip destination. And what they're talking about is road trips, not just short term, but also people that now will go back to longer road trips as opposed to taking flights initially. It's also a great opportunity to kind of reset and think about the things that you realized were like a weak point for you in your business, whether it's hotel, restaurant, retail, and you didn't have time to really address. And right now, one of the advantages of is to kind of revisit that and consider how you can manage that moving forward and make accommodations for what could be the need for more social distancing. So for example, one thing we're thinking about is with our food delivery, how to make it more touchless and having more sort of pack and go options rather than the kind of delivery that we were offering before COVID-19. And that could benefit us in the long run in terms of kind of having a niche where we're offering pack and go food where people can bring it to the rooftop and kind of have a picnic up there, or maybe bring it out on the parkway and enjoy it outside of the hotel. So we, as you can tell, have really been strategizing and encourage all businesses to use this period, not wait until we get the announcement that we're ready to forego the stay-at-home orders, but right now have these meetings and really look at the data to be strategic in terms of what your recovery will be like, your timeline of that, staffing of that, et cetera.
The last thing I'd like to touch on with both of you, and certainly this can get very philosophical, but also I think very practical as we think about our reaction and response to this period of time. We have seen some local resources. I don't want to use the word benefit incorrectly, but be there at the right time to help our community through different needs. With that said, how do you feel like this time period is going to ultimately define for people again what local means and how it applies to them?
Oh gosh, local is what it's all about when you have a small business, particularly in Boone. There's so many different defining characteristics of what makes a good, true local business. But there's so many questions and left to know, and so much uncertainty as every day presents itself with different scenarios. Particularly in the social distancing situation. I mean, it's not real positive when you wake up and some Harvard professor thinks that social distancing may last until 2022. So, I don't think that will be the case, but that's a very tricky situation and analysis as it relates to local.
But I do think that, and I have been so impressed by and touched by how our community has been more focused on making local purchases and paying attention to the local businesses. And so as consumers living in town, it seems like, at least I've been anecdotally noticing a shift where people are consuming and buying from a lot of the local stores in a way that they probably weren't before, and they didn't kind of appreciate sort of how that benefits not just the local stores, but also our town in general from a tax perspective. And so I hope that that is a sort of dynamic and a behavior that will stick moving forward, as we sort of had this opportunity to appreciate what we may not have been able to appreciate before now, is the benefit of really not just like local for like certain days of the week or times of the year, but in general, really taking care of our neighbors and buying from and being in businesses that are local. Seems like a behavior shift that hopefully will maintain itself.
And a friend of mine said yesterday that local impacts people's households, and that's the way that he and his family are choosing to support. Is if you know the family, you know the way that those people are attached to a business, you are helping them with their livelihood, and I think that's a great way to put it as well.
Well, and we've felt that as well. I mean, as small business owners, and we're sort of independent in that way, and local folks, and really like took a risk in opening the space. I've been so, again, touched by when we do like Takeout Tuesday and what our offerings are. Sometimes there's people that will, pay, triple the amount of whatever the product is that we're selling. And I know that businesses are so appreciative when we leave more of a tip than you typically would, only because you're kind of taking care of not just the business, but the people that really depend on it.
And and for instance, sadly, to think about it, I heard Capone's closed. That really hurts because I loved Capone's. And sadly enough, I'm sure they're one of several that will not make it through this. And I think we will all say, oh gosh, remember Capone's, or remember whatever, and really be empathetic to what happened to them. And I think that will stay with us, the sadness of a lot of those businesses aren't going to make it.
Well, we hope that everybody gets out and shops local Saturday, and makes that be a point to become more aware throughout all of the other 6 days of the week, that there are opportunities for you to engage in businesses just like the Horton and so many others here in our community. So Denise and Fulton, we thank you for being a part of this today, and we wish you nothing but the best. And Fulton, get back up there on that roof and play us into a weekend again, man. That was awesome.
I'm camera shy.